Thank you, Tony. Tonight, a Target 12 investigators exclusive, a call for help.
Just days before a fire tears through a Providence building, killing a woman, a tenant makes a chilling prediction in a 911 call.
It's illegal to have those cords running on the stairs like that. He's going to kill somebody. It's going to cause a fire.
That 911 caller begging police for help at 110 Bowdoin Street after he says the house was littered with extension cords because the building had no heat.
Target 12 investigator Tim White is here now with his exclusive details. Tim, it's rare we actually, get to hear the 911 calls, but you really worked at this. There's a timeline to this tragic situation.
Yeah, Mike, we wanted a better understanding about what went on in the days leading up to the fire. Initially, my request to get the 911 calls was denied by city lawyers. They told me I had to track down the person who made the calls and get them to give me written permission to do so. So we did. New Year's Day at 110 Bowdoin Street was cold. With no working heat in the house, extension cords were running throughout the building, powering space heaters and hot plates. Breakers were constantly tripping, and after the oxygen machine his wife was using kept turning off.
Hi, I got a complaint. My landlord has a bunch of extension cords running out of his door all the way down the stairs.
Resident Roland Colpitz finally had enough and called Providence Police.
It's illegal to have those cords running on the stairs like that. He's going to kill somebody. It's going to cause a fire. It's going to cause a fire, man. The break, I have to run downstairs to the basement to turn the breakers on 10 to 20 times a day because of this.
What's your address?
110 Bowdoin Street. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Have you thought about trying to find a new place to live?
How can I? He's got all of our money and everything. He refuses to do anything.
The police dispatcher reached out to the fire department.
But can the fire department see if that's a safety hazard?
What firefighters found there was so troubling, they called a fire department inspector.
56 be advised. Engine 14 is also going to need you at 110 Bowdoin Street for an issue with electrical wires.
The fire department ultimately forwarded the complaint to the city inspector's office, who sent an official 2 days later. On January 2nd, Colpitz called 911 again.
I need a police officer at 110 Bowdoin Street.
110 Bowdoin?
Yeah, my landlord threatened me with bodily harm as a repercussion because I called the inspectors on him. So he's at my door threatening to kick it in right now.
All right, I'm going to send somebody your way.
In the end, Roland Colpitz's predictions to the Providence Police proved true. Just 5 days after his calls, the house, which used to stand here at this now vacant lot, burned to the ground. Firefighters later recovered the body of 49-year-old Lucy Feliciano. 110 Bowdoin Street has been on the city's radar screen for years. A property report reviewed by Target 12 shows the building, owned by Dexter Jackson, accrued a long list of violations, yet none of the other inspectors noticed the home was being run as an illegal boarding house like the inspector discovered days before the fire. And one inspector, who Target 12 has learned is no longer working for the city, cleared the property of several violations in 2015, signing off that issues had been fixed, including heat being restored to the entire building. But a National Grid spokesperson tells Target 12 only one of two apartments was actually getting natural gas at that time. And we've learned the official who signed off on the repairs was a building inspector, meaning he deals with structural issues, not a mechanical inspector who examines heating systems. Investigators believe space heaters or hot plates ignited the flames. The homeowner has not been charged in this case. Target 12 was denied a request for an on-camera interview with the head of inspections and standards, Jeffrey Likens. We were told the schedule was too busy, but Mike and Shannon, in a phone call, Likens tells me they are reviewing their policies and procedures in the wake of this case.
One of the many striking things you hear, Tim, in this story is you hear this man pleading to the dispatcher. And at one point, the dispatcher asked him, well, don't you have somewhere else to go?
Right, and we called the Providence Police Department about that. And look, you got to realize the people that lived in this house didn't have a lot of income, so simply up and moving wasn't an easy option for them. But a spokesperson for the police department tells me, quote, appropriate disciplinary actions on the dispatcher were taken after listening to those recordings.
All right, Tim, thank you. And coming up new at 6, we bring you the chaotic 911 calls from the night of the fire and the frantic radio calls by firefighters as they search for the victim. A call for help continues tonight in the next hour on Eyewitness News. Thank you, Tony. We have new details at 6 in a Target 12 Investigators exclusive, a call for help.
We've obtained the dramatic 911 calls and firefighters' radio traffic from a fatal fire in Providence last month.
There's a big fire right now.
Are there people inside?
There's people screaming outside. I don't know. There's like 2 houses burning right now.
Live at 5, we revealed a tenant from the house called police nearly a week before the deadly blaze, predicting there was going to be a fire.
New at 6, radio transmissions from firefighters the night of the blaze show the frantic search for a woman who ultimately lost her life.
Target 12 investigator Tim White is here now with his exclusive findings. Tim?
Mike and Shannon, when firefighters arrived at 110 Bowdoin Street, it was a chaotic scene. 3 buildings ultimately burned down, and radio calls from that night show they knew early on at least one person was unaccounted for.
Good evening, Providence Police. This is Alicia. Can I help you?
Hi, I got a complaint.
911 recordings obtained by Target 12 reveal 5 days before a fatal fire at 110 Bowdoin Street in Providence,
My landlord.
tenant Roland Colpitts called police seeking help. The house was littered with extension cords to power space heaters.
It's illegal to have those cords running down the stairs like that. He's going to kill somebody. It's going to cause a fire. It's going to cause a fire, man.
Less than a week later, on January 6th, this call to 911.
The house is on fire?
We need police right now, yes.
Is the house on fire?
Yes.
The house is on fire.
The house is on fire.
Okay, you get everybody out of the house.
Multiple calls began pouring in.
Are there people inside?
There's people screaming outside. I don't know. There's like 2 houses burning right now.
Okay, sir. We have them en route.
Target 12 also obtained 2-way radio traffic from the Providence Fire Department.
Reported a house fire with a person trapped on the 2nd floor.
First responders soon learned one of the tenants, Lucy Feliciano, was unaccounted for. Residents were being treated in ambulances staged near the fire.
Rescue 2 has a patient at Amherst and Putnam currently, smoke inhalation.
Safety Rescue 2, is that Lucy?
But it was another tenant, not Feliciano, being treated. As the minutes ticked by,
Lucy is not present if command is looking for Lucy.
Then firefighters were called out of one of the buildings.
Commander Special Hazards on the 2nd floor of the original fire building. Evacuate your position at this time.
In the end, Feliciano's remains were removed from the embers of the building the next day. Investigators say the likely cause of the fire was tenants using space heaters and hot plates because the building lacked heat. As we reported at 5, the City Inspection and Standards Department tells us they are reviewing their policies and procedures after a previous inspector gave the property a green light for having working heat to the entire building. But a National Grid spokesperson tells me only one of the apartments was being supplied with natural gas at that time. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.